For decades, Switzerland has been the go-to for wealth protection, neutrality, and institutional trust. And in many ways, it still is. But here is something to consider. What if Switzerland isn't just a place, but a profile? I've spent the past several months mapping global jurisdictions against what I call the Switzerland test. 4 pillars: neutrality, institutional trust, capital protection, and political continuity. No country fully replicates all 4, but there are a few that are developing in the right trajectory. What I'm seeing is that the next decade will not reward maximum leverage, it will reward maximum predictability. And the Switzerlands of the world will become the most sought after countries. So today I'm breaking down the 9 functional Switzerlands of the world. Who is rising? Who is falling? And why stability just became the new hard currency? Let's get into it. By the way, if you're new here, this channel is for people optimizing for freedom and sovereignty in the modern age. People building location-independent lives, thinking strategically about where to live, work, and structure themselves. So if this is your word, make sure to hit subscribe. I'll be dropping many specific country deep dives and strategy breakdowns in the coming weeks that I'm sure you'll find valuable. For years, growth was the trade, but now resilience is. So my take is this: Switzerland test is going to become more and more relevant to people optimizing their strategies. So let me explain what these 4 pillars actually mean and why they matter. Neutrality. Switzerland avoided every major European conflict for centuries. It doesn't take sides. When wars break out around you, your wealth doesn't get frozen. Your banks don't get sanctioned and your passport doesn't become a liability. Now, this is the specific output of a specific design policy, the Swiss one. 2. Institutional trust. The rule of law is predictable. Contracts are honored. Property rights are sacred. You don't worry about a new government deciding your assets belong suddenly to the state. The system works the same way today as it did 50 years ago. Capital protection. Low taxes, strong banking privacy. Stable currency. Your wealth is structurally defended. The government isn't incentivized to extract maximum revenue from you. They are incentivized to attract and protect capital. Political continuity. No dramatic regime changes, no revolutionary shifts. The same principles compound over generations. This is what lets families plan in decades, not election cycles. Switzerland still manages $2.6 trillion in offshore assets, the world's largest cross-border financial center, because it delivers on all 4. But here is what I found mapping other jurisdictions. Very few score high across all 4 pillars. That's what we are looking at today. So let's start with the closest equivalent to Switzerland, but on the other side of the world. Singapore, the Switzerland of Asia. Singapore manages $1.7 trillion in cross-border assets with AAA ratings and virtually zero corruption. The government actively courts wealth with family office incentives and a global investor program that costs Singapore $2.5 million. So there is no tax on foreign income that you don't bring in. No capital gains tax, no inheritance tax. What makes Singapore work is the combination of institutional depth and geopolitical balance. They have managed to stay neutral between the US and China while maintaining Swiss quality efficiency in Asia. The trade-off, though, is cost and climate. Singapore is one of the most expensive cities globally, and it's extremely hot year-round. But if you can get past those cons, then Singapore is absolutely top in Asia and pretty much the world. Then you have the luxury version, Monaco. The luxury Switzerland. About 40% of its residents are millionaires. Zero income tax since 1869. Residency requires a €500,000, 500k, plus bank deposit and securing local accommodation. If you have the capital, the process is super straightforward. I know it for certain. The downside here is that property prices are very high, hitting €100,000 per square meters. You pay in real estate what others pay in taxes. So it won't be a realistic option for many, but in terms of the 4 pillars, it always will score quite high. Now, if you want Switzerland's neighbor literally in a custom union with Switzerland, then you have Liechtenstein, the micro fortress. Just 39,000 residents, but it has Swiss level stability with even lower taxes. The banks there manage over 300 billion Swiss francs in assets, which is enormous relative to the country's GDP. The Liechtenstein Foundation has been the go-to vehicle for ultra-rich families managing generational wealth since 1926. The catch? is that immigration is nearly impossible unless you have EU citizenship or exceptional connections. Now let's go to South America. Uruguay, the South American anchor, often called the Switzerland of South America for a reason. But here is what just changed in early 2026. The old deal was this: buy about 560k US dollars property, spend 60 days a year there, and you get 11 years of zero tax on all foreign income. The new deal is now invest $2 million in property or live there 183 days a year, and you get 11 years at 0 plus 5 years at 6%. Now, if you are generally wealthy, 16 years of protection beats 11, but the trend is clear. Jurisdictions open doors, attract capital, then raise the price. It's happening everywhere. The cost of "I'll do it next year" just became an extra 1.5 million in Uruguay. In other places, the cost is that the path disappears entirely. But what hasn't changed is that Uruguay is still the safest country in Latin America. The citizenship pathway is still just 5 years, and you can keep dual citizenship, and the passport gets you visa-free access to over 155 countries. And I'd say it's still pretty underrated. Moving to Africa. Mauritius, the Switzerland of Africa, Africa's leading financial hub. The tax rate is 15%, but the effective rate works out to around 3%, and there is no capital gains tax. It's a spectacularly beautiful island with a stable democracy. Over the years, it has become the preferred jurisdiction for structuring African investment, kind of like what Luxembourg does for Europe. I know a couple of people based there. It's generally underrated if you're looking for 0% capital gains. Back to Europe, but this time in the Mediterranean. Malta, the Mediterranean hub, a small EU island with constitutional neutrality, and non-domiciled residents are taxed only on Maltese income and foreign income remitted to Malta. Foreign capital gains aren't taxed even if you bring the money in. You can get lifetime EU residency for around 150,000 euro. Malta was grey-listed in 2021, removed in 2022. It's recovering but still under scrutiny. Panama, the Americas gateway. Panama has high political neutrality, no army, they've been neutral since the US left, and they have a territorial tax system, which means 0% tax on foreign-sourced income. Panama uses the US dollar as its currency, which provides monetary stability. They have easy visa programs, some of the best, and it's popular with retirees. And the strategic position bridging North and South America makes it a natural getaway. Now, let's talk about Middle East, and this one is fascinating. Oman, the diplomatic Switzerland. Quiet neutrality in a loud region. During the recent US strikes on Iran, every GCC country was threatened except one, at least initially, Oman. It ranks as the 5th safest country globally for those earning under $109,000 a year. Personal income tax stays at 0% even after 2028. There is a 15-year citizenship path, a transparent legal route, though you have to renounce other citizenship and it's extremely hard to get. But there is a route, though most will see this as another perk of living in the UAE because it's 4 hours from Dubai driving. But finally, there is the geographic fortress, New Zealand. In a fragmented world, geographic remoteness becomes an asset class. New Zealand combines strong institutions with physical distance from geopolitical flashpoints. It's the ultimate geographic edge for those prioritizing safety above tax optimization. Now, let me address the elephant in the room. The UAE built itself as the tax Switzerland of the Middle East, and for 30 years it offered zero personal income tax, exceptional safety, capital magnetism, and what seemed like geopolitical insulation. But recent tensions have changed the equation. It doesn't mean collapse, but the untouchable fortress narrative has objectively cracked. Switzerland survived centuries of war happening all around it. The UAE is now being tested in real time. Here is what matters. A jurisdiction leaves the Switzerland category when it loses neutrality, when it loses monetary credibility, when it becomes militarily exposed, or when institutional trust weakens. Personally, I'm very optimistic in the midterm for the UAE, but on the other hand, Dubai's image of invincibility took inevitably a hit. But what people will remember, again, my opinion is rather how fast and composed the response was. Dubai residents objectively aren't there by chance, and when things got tested, most of them stood by. Some will leave, others will arrive. What matters is that those who stay and those who move in now will be there on purpose. The UAE may end up with the most grounded resident population anywhere, and let's be frank, there will be a dip for sure, but my take is that many will buy it. Let's see how it is in 12 months. By the way, if you're not subscribed to my Substack where I share these sort of takes and guides weekly or even twice a week and in more depth, make sure to check that out, link in the comments below. The core thesis and real question with these matters isn't where can I grow fastest, it is where will my capital still feel pretty boring in 15 years. Objectively, this is a mindset shift. Capital has already started repricing. The UAE attracted thousands of millionaires not because it was exciting, but because it was boring in the right ways. Until recently. Singapore continues to draw family offices because its institutions deliver year after year. Uruguay accumulates expats because nothing dramatic ever happens there, all under the radar. And Switzerland remains the benchmark because it has been reliably perfect or imperfect in the same ways for centuries. That's the test in a nutshell. In the next decade, stability will be the real currency. The Switzerland test isn't about finding the next Switzerland. It's about understanding which jurisdictions replicate 1, 2, or 3 of the pillars. Singapore delivers on 3, Monaco delivers on 2, Uruguay delivers on 3 with some question marks. The UAE is being stress tested in real time. The jurisdictions that win won't be the ones promising maximum leverage. They will be the ones delivering maximum predictability. And capital is already moving precisely now in the meantime you're watching this video. If you found this valuable, subscribe. I'm covering every major jurisdiction for location-independent people, the real numbers, the real trade-offs, no fluff. Drop a comment and tell me which jurisdiction you want me to break down next. Thanks for watching and ciao for now.